Good day, GCI members, young leaders, and sustainability advocates joining us from around the world. Welcome to GCI Sustain 360, 48 Hours Race to Sustainability, a global initiative of the 2026 GCI Sustainability Committee. My name is Mohamed Bang. I'm from GCI Senegal, and I have the honor of serving as a 2026 GCI Vice President assigned to Africa and the Middle East. As part of the 48th Race Hour to Sustainability, we engage experts and practitioners to share knowledge, experiences, and practical perspectives that can help young leaders turn sustainability into meaningful local actions. Today, we are focusing on the theme environmental justice and community rights. And our topic is environmental justice, empowering vulnerable communities for resilient future. Building resilience is not only about infrastructure. It's not only about technology or environmental projects. It has also ensuring that communities are informed, included, empowered, and able to participate meaningfully in shaping the solutions that affect their lives. Today's conversation will help us better understand environmental justice and explore how law, governance, leadership, and community participation can contribute to a more inclusive and resilient future. And it's my pleasure to welcome today's our guest, Joan Akampurira. Joan is a climate and sustainable development advocate, legal professional, and leadership practitioner. She is a co-founder and program lead of the Synergy Leadership Program in Uganda. Her works lies at the intersection of climate policy, environmental governance, sustainable development, gender equality, and leadership. Joan currently serves as a team lead and fellow under the Africa SDGs mentorship program, leading the SDG 13 Climate Action Corps, and is also a climate and sustainable fellow at the Women Association in the United Kingdom. Her interests particularly focus on how policy, laws, finance, and community participation can work together to create a more just and resilient future. Joan, thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the GCI Sustain 360 48 Hours Race to Sustainability. My first question to you, Joan, is how would you explain environmental justice and why the word justice is so important?
Thank you so much, Mr. Muhammad. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on your time zones. Once again, my name is Akampura Joan. I'm from Uganda, and I'm really privileged to be part of this program. And I thank the JCI for inviting me as a guest speaker on a 40-hour race to sustainability. Environmental justice, empowering vulnerable communities for a resilient future is our today's theme. First and foremost, we should understand that environmental justice is our fairness with our relationship with the environment. It doesn't mean that we just need to protect the trees, the rivers, the lakes, and so on. It means that we need to be fair in the way we deal with the environment and the people that use the environment. It also means who carries the burden of the environmental crisis, who shares the benefits, and whose voices or ideas are being heard when they are shaping decisions about sustainability. So today's theme, I would like us to focus on like a few questions for us to be able to understand environmental justice, because we all know already that our climate change is changing at a terrible speed. We are facing droughts, we are facing floods, we are facing changing rainfall patterns. This is no longer a question for us to ask. It is really happening. And now at the moment, we really need to know who is affected most and why. And that is the reason why we come to environmental justice. Because we believe, yes, it happens, climate change is happening, but people are not being affected in the same way. Communities are not being affected in the same way. So environmental justice just brings a question. When climate change has come, floods has come, who is greatly affected? So that connects us back to our theme of vulnerability. There are some communities that are vulnerable than the others. So in this case, in our main theme, we really need to identify who is affected most, who benefits, who carries the most burden, and who participates in the decision making. So at this time, I would like really to appreciate that when we are relating with nature, we need to know if the community is affected, if it is vulnerable, how are we going to be able to help it to catch up with the climate shocks? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Joanne. So environmental justice therefore asks us not only what environmental problem exists, but also who is affected, who participates in decisions, and whether the outcomes are fair. Let's move to our second question. Why do environmental challenges affect some communities more than others? Who tends to be most vulnerable?
Thank you so much for that amazing question. Like we explained before, environmental crisis is already affecting us globally, and it is not affecting all of us at the same equal footing. So one important reason to understand this is that vulnerability is not distributed equally. There are some communities that are vulnerable to climate shocks. Reason being, they don't have enough capacity to adapt. They don't have enough resources, and generally, the systems have not been able to be put in place so that they can be able to adapt or recover from climate shocks. And at this time, I would like to put this forward that globally, the world is facing what the United Nations program has termed as a triple planetary crisis, whereby we are facing climate change, we are facing biodiversity and nature loss. Then there is the third one. The third crisis is pollution and waste. And these crises are not happening separately. They are greatly affecting us. They are affecting livelihoods, food security, and generally the development of our nations, of our communities, and at a global level. So these crises they are affecting us. And if I give an example, for example, if there is a destruction on the forest, there is a way it connects with other crises. It affects climate change in a way that it will have reduced the carbon sink, the storage of carbon, and it will also lead to water system, it will affect the rainfall formation, and that will end up bringing drought. And you find that the communities that have been relying on this biodiversity, or like the forest, have increased their vulnerability. So in that circumstances, you find that it is only one crisis that has happened, but it has affected the whole world, and global gas emissions have increased. So in these circumstances, we are like, the consequences happen everywhere. But the climate change happened everywhere, but now the consequences are felt differently. And I want to give an estimate whereby the IPCC estimates that 3.3 to 3.6 billions of people live in contexts where they are highly vulnerable to climate change. And here, when we talk about vulnerability, we are not talking about like identity, where sometimes we feel like vulnerability is connected to identity. No, vulnerability in this case is produced by systems. The systems we put in place bring the vulnerability. For example, some hazards come just because there is inequality. There are some things that come because there is marginalization, unsustainable development, and maybe poor governance in the place. If I give an example, there are some communities, for example, in rural areas where farmers, they don't have access to sources, they don't have access to resistant crops, or like agricultural inputs. They don't have access to anything that can protect them when there is an environmental hazard. So you cannot compare with this community with the one that has access to finance, that has access to resources. So if drought come, or maybe like floods come and they spoil, they come and destroy the gardens, the other community that don't have any capacity on resources is going to face a great danger or the great damage or loss. And the other community that is able to adapt, it has resources, it has capacity, it has systems in place, it is able even to predict that there is a long drought coming, there is a rainfall that is going to be having, flood is coming. So for it, it will be able to predict the climate shock that is coming. And even if it is coming, it will be able to also learn how to adapt to it, to recover from it, and at the end of the day, it will be able to accommodate the loss, unlike the other community that is vulnerable. So this is why vulnerable communities, we have communities like, for example, the low-income communities, whereby people are poor. Even if climate shock comes, they have nothing at all to save themselves. We have rural and smallholder farmers. They normally lack information, they normally lack resources, and even they are limited with the land resources and natural resources, and they don't have control or even decisions about them. Then we also have vulnerable communities like women and girls, and these are the very big percentage of people in our communities. And we find that they take most of the part, let's say in sectors like agriculture. But unfortunately, when disasters come, they are greatly affected because they are lacking most of the resources needed. They don't own land, and their capital is always limited. So we also have children, the youth, we also have elder persons and people with disabilities, and also communities who live in areas that are exposed in floods. So in actual sense, if I'm to talk about vulnerability, it means that the system has produced, or it has produced vulnerability. These people are not born as a vulnerable community, but the problem is that the situation that have been placed in, they have reproduced and produced many vulnerability. So I believe if the systems change, if they have been given capacity to adapt, if they have been given resources, they have been given finance, their ideas, their priorities have been considered and they have been welcomed at the table to plan and to make decisions that affect them in their daily lives, I believe the vulnerability will have been reduced. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for this answer. So, climate change and environmental degradation can magnify existing social and economic inequalities. So, understanding vulnerability is therefore essential when designing sustainability solutions. So, let's move to our third questions. So, how is environmental justice connected to climate resilience? So, can a community truly be resilient if inequality is not addressed?
Thank you so much for that beautiful question. Yes, environmental justice is greatly connected to climate resilience because if you're not given capacity to adapt, there's no way you can be resilient. So, for example, here, environmental justice, there is a way, for example, if I give a case in point, like when we talk about climate finance, and it has been estimated that countries, developing countries need 310 US billion dollars. And we found that the finance that has been able to come to these countries is far much less. So that means if it is less that is received, that means it will be easy to implement adaptation projects. And that means even the projects that will be implemented, they will not or they will rarely reach to the people that really need them. So that means there will still be a gap in between there, between the global commitment to do something to help in reducing climate shocks and the implementation on the ground. So environmental justice and climate resilience are deeply connected, and this is because we cannot build resilient communities when we are ignoring the inequalities that shape the ability to prepare and to adapt and recover from the climate shocks. So if we need to understand what resilience means the ability to anticipate and withstand, adapt to, recover from, and be able to transform in response to environmental challenges. It doesn't just stop at the fact that the environmental shock has happened and people have been able to recover from it. It must be sustainable that even in the future years to come, the community is able to continue living in a healthy way and in a sustainable without having challenges. So, and people cannot do that without having enough resources, having the right information, institutions, the capacity, and all that is needed to adapt, recover, and be able to live in a sustainable life. For example, if I give a point where there are two communities, the same drought has happened, but one has access to information, irrigation, the savings, the insurance, they have all that it takes to recover. And they even have the public support, or maybe the governance, or maybe the local government is supporting it. And there is that community that is barely having those resources. So that means the injustice will always affect the other community that has nothing at all to adapt or to recover from the climate shock. So at this point, I would like us to understand that there is no way you can have environmental justice. There's no way you can have community when the inequalities are still there, and when the people who are being affected are being given the platform, are not being given the resources, are not being given all the information and the opportunity for them to express their ideas, their priorities. So it is not about a matter of like bringing a project to the people. It is a matter of understanding what they are facing every day and how they have been able to manage the climate shocks, how they have been resilient for all the years that they have been facing the shocks. So in most cases, you find that these communities already have the information, they have all the requirements they need, but what they lack is a push-up. It's just like a push-up. Some of them have already started up the projects, but maybe they lack enough capital, they have like enough resources to put them at the level that can really bring resilience. So the two go in hand, climate resilience and environmental justice, they go hand in hand. So what we need at this time is to empower communities so that they become climate resilient and they be able to own the projects that are brought in communities. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's mean like resilience is not only about recovering from environmental shocks. It also about ensuring that people have resources, rights, and opportunities required to prepare, respond, and adapt. So from now, let us look at the role of communities themselves. Sustainability programs are often designed for communities, but environmental justice asks whether communities are generally involved in shaping those programs. So my question is, why is a community participation essential in environmental decisions? What does meaningful participation actually look like?
Thank you so much for that amazing question. Yes, community participation is so essential when we are discussing sustainability or when we are discussing environmental justice. This is because environmental decisions, they affect the people. They affect the community and they affect people's lives, livelihoods, health, and resources. And it is so unfortunate that the people who come to bring the projects, or maybe who decide for the community, they are not the ones that are affecting the harm, that they are not the ones that are experiencing the harm. It is the community itself, by the end of the day, that is experiencing the climate disasters. They are the ones that experience the floods. They are the ones that experience the changing patterns of the rainfall. They are the ones that affect the droughts. So at the end of the day, we have to know that their participation is the most important factor if we really want to achieve climate justice, because they are the one that own the problem and they are the one that are facing the challenges and the burdens. So that means it is participation is not it is mandatory. It is not something that is debatable because they are the ones that are facing the real problem. And if, for example, if decisions are being made about the community and without considering people's views, ideas, and for like a project. You just go there and design the project on the paper, you come on ground, you start implementing the project. There is a possibility that that project may fail because you've not consulted people, they have not participated in the planning, you don't have the ground information on what has been happening, how it has happened, and for how long it has been happening, and how people have been able to survive. Remember, the community is the one that has the original information on how these patterns happen. If it is the climate shock that happens every year, they know when it comes, how severe it is, and normally how they have been able to survive when it comes. So they own this information. If it is something about the soil, they know the soil texture, they know how the soil is. So they know the right solutions for these problems. But the problem is they just lack the capacity. They lack the resources. They lack people to come and support them. Some of them already have initiatives. They have been trying to use those initiatives to recover, to adapt, and maybe like that, to survive in life. And indeed, they have really survived, though in a difficult way, but they have been surviving. So that means they need to be included in participation. Their voices need to be heard, and they need to be given a priority to choose which project should be financed, because it is them who know the right solutions for their problem. And to answer like that question is, if you don't include participation of the community members, yet they have the reliable information, that means they don't own the project. And if they don't own the project, if they feel they don't have ownership of the maybe the adaptation project, that means the project is likely not to provide solutions that are affecting the community. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, wonderful. Participation is essential. Participation should go beyond simply informing people after the decision has already been made. So communities should have opportunities to contribute their knowledge, concern, and priorities from the beginning. So let's move to our next question. So how can vulnerability communities better understand and exercise their environmental rights?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed, for that beautiful question. And I believe environmental issue is not only an environmental issue, but it is also a human rights issue. Because when environmental challenges come, the floods have come and they have affected agriculture. That means the people's gardens have been washed away. That means we shall be able to face food insecurity. And that means if there is food insecurity, the right to food is being affected. If there has been disposal of wastes, maybe like in the lakes, rivers, oceans, or anywhere around our areas, that means there will be poor sanitation. That means it is likely to cause diseases to different people. And that means there is poor health generally. And that means the right to health is being affected. And let's also look at like right to development. If people have set up their businesses, they have done a lot of things, and maybe floods have come and really washed them away, or maybe they have constructed their houses and the floods have come, they are always affected by floods, and they are living in a poor state. That means the right to housing is being affected, and maybe businesses of people are affected. That means the right to development has been affected. So we cannot separate environmental issues from human rights issues. as a human being, as specified in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, every human being deserves human rights by the virtue of the fact that we are human beings. That is a guarantee. As long as we are humans, we deserve human rights. So we need to be protected. We need the right to dignity. We need our environmental rights to be respected. So rights are powerful when people know them. People need to know the communities. They need to know that they have a right to food. They have a right to health. They have a right to a healthy environment. So once we've already known that we have those rights, then the next step is, how do we exercise these rights? And if they are violated, how do we know that these rights have been violated? And if at all they have been violated, how do we be able to know that, yes, our rights have been violated? Then those people that have violated them, how do we work on them? Do we have systems? Do we have a way we can report to these people and they be able to see how to handle the violation of their rights? So these are steps on how the communities can be able to understand their rights to environment, to healthy environment, and they be able to fight for their rights. So this is particularly important in environmental justice because environmental issues are so closely connected to fundamental rights. And here I would like to give like a key point whereby in July 2022, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution whereby it recognized the right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. This recognition is not just something that was just written on a paper. It is something that should be observed. It is something that should be respected and protected by both the governments and the citizens and the communities on the ground. So the people who are greatly affected, they need to understand their rights, and after understanding their rights, they see how they can protect them. Then the community members also need to have legal awareness, knowing where to seek help in case their rights have been violated. And also I would emphasize community leadership, that these people have the knowledge, they have all the skills. So basically they need to be included when all these formulation of the policies are taking place, the planning and the dialogues, because they are the ones that are greatly affected. They are the ones that whose human rights are being violated. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. So rights are most powerful when people know they exist and understand how to exercise them. This is where access to information, legal awareness, and community leadership become particularly important. So let's move to our next question. What does community empowerment mean in the context of sustainability? How communities move from being beneficiary to become leader?
Thank you so much, Mr. Muhammad, for that question. Yes, empowerment, we normally hear empowering communities, and in most cases, we find that yes, we think that we've empowered communities, but when we've really not empowered communities, it just stays on paper, on in words, in policies, but on ground when it is not there. So for me, I believe community empowerment means moving beyond seeing communities as beneficiaries and recognizing them as partners, decision makers, and leaders. Empowerment involves more than just giving information to people, just giving a short-term project. It involves giving them enough knowledge they need, enough resources they need, largely of their problems. Their voices should be heard. Decision making should be put at their priority. They are the ones that are being affected, so they are the ones to be part of the decision makers. Then I also believe they need the power, they need the leadership, they need the voice to work on their solutions, to work on their problems. So I believe, how we can be able to achieve this, we need to move from treating these community members as just beneficiaries of the projects, and we start seeing them as leaders, as people who have the knowledge and the capacity to lead the projects. And we need to create systems that are going to work from today and in the 10 years to come, not just to bring projects that are going to survive for 1 year and we just disappear and then the problems still exist. We need to set up systems that are going to help these communities. Then we need to really stop from consulting people, just taking their views and we just leave them on paper. We need to consult. Yes, we need to consult them, take their knowledge, take their information, and keep them in the planning process until it reaches to the implementation stage. And they are the ones that need to own these projects. We also need to move from mere participation to decision making, so that they are the ones that are determining what is the priority project number 1, what is the priority project number 2, where does finance go, and who plans for the finance, who plans for the land, who plans for the natural resources. Then finally, we also need to move from vulnerability to empowerment, real empowerment, where we shall be knowing that the community is now really fully empowered and it is resilient. So the question is whether that the community has the capacity or opportunity to understand the problem, define its priorities, influence decisions, access resources. So that is our question. Is really the community able to understand that it has the capacity, it has the opportunity, its voice is being heard, it can be able to define its priorities, and finally, it is the community that is able to design the solutions that are affecting their lives. So in actual sense, we should be able to treat these communities as the community that already know something about the problems they are facing, the community that are able to identify their priorities, the communities that already have some resources, the community that are already having the capacity. So we just need to tap on what is already existing and we add on our own, technology, we add on an innovation, then we see how to make the community own these solutions. So finally, we need to stop designing solutions for the community people. We need to engage them and start creating solutions with them, not for them. Thank you.
Excellent, wonderful. So empowerment change the relation between the communities and sustainability initiative. Instead of receiving solutions designed by others, communities become active participants in creating and sustaining those solutions. Thank you very much for this wonderful answers. What should young leaders avoid when working with vulnerable communities?
Thank you so much for this beautiful question. Yes, young leaders are having the capacity, they are having the energy, they are having information, the advocacy skills that can help the community to increase their resilience. However, I would like to say something about young leaders, whereby as they are trying to amplify their voices towards empowerment of the communities. One, we need to understand that the communities are the ones that are experiencing the challenges. So young people have an important role to first go on ground in the communities, make research, mingle with the community, understand exactly what the community is facing, how the people in that community have been managing the challenges, and how the challenges have been able to be reduced with a small community knowledge, with a small community capacity and resources, so that they get a starting point towards amplifying their voices. And yes, I believe young leaders, they have an important role because they can create platforms that connect communities with institutions, policymakers, businesses, and other decision makers. So I believe they just need to participate in the community initiatives, and they don't need to assume they already know. They need to avoid approaching the community through just bringing their suggestions and opinions. They need to sit with the community members and understand exactly what is happening. And this, we should, like the community, we should treat them as important people with important knowledge, whereby young leaders, they need to avoid treating local knowledge as something that is outdated, as something that is not useful. This is the knowledge that is very important, and when it is combined with the external expertise, I believe good solutions for the environmental challenges are going to be found. So leadership requires humility, it requires listening, and it requires expecting lived experiences from different people of different communities. So young leaders can then use their networks, they can use their communication, their platforms, the digital tools, and advocacy skills. Upon receiving all the necessary information from the local people, to be able to amplify these voices. And finally, young people, young leaders can help translate community concerns into policy conversations. I believe with doing this, young leaders will have a better voice to help out communities, to be able to create spaces for dialogues and also to advocate for communities without speaking over them, but by considering their priorities, their voices, and towards achieving a resilient future. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this wonderful answer. So young leaders can help create platforms for dialogues and connections. But meaningful leadership also requires listening, humility, and respect for local knowledge. So let's move to the next question. For you, how can GTI build effective partnerships around community rights? Who should be part of these partnerships?
Thank you so much for that amazing question. How can JCI build effective partnerships around community rights, and who should be part of this partnership? And first and foremost, the community itself must be part. The local governments, and other stakeholders like the businesses, civil society, they all must be part of this partnership. Because environmental justice requires cooperation, This is due to the fact that challenges are too complex for one organization to be able to handle them. These are something that are so big. They are too complex. No one institution can really manage it. So we cannot survive partnerships. So JCI can bring together different actors who each have something valuable to contribute. One, there is a need for community leaders because they understand local realities. There is a need for local governments because they have institutional mandate, they have institutional capacity and public responsibilities. There is a need to have legal professionals because environmental justice is also about the rights, accountability, and access to justice. We need the people in private sector because they have the innovation, the technology that we may need to tap in so that we can be able to implement projects successfully. Then finally, we also need civil society organizations because we need community participation, we need mobilization, we need advocacy, and one organization may not be able to handle all this. And we also need a voice, we need the energy of the young people because these are the future leaders of our communities and they have all the innovation, they are still energetic, they have the networks and new approaches towards communication and problem solving. Then finally, the effective partnership is not simply about having all these different organizations in the same room. It is also about having like a shared objectives, the shared goal, clearly defined laws, mutual accountability and understanding, and importantly, ensuring that the communities themselves are part of the partnership. Thus, we should not build partnership just based on the fact that we have different stakeholders or organizations, but we have people with the same shared goal, the same shared vision, and who have come together to fulfill one common objective. With this, I believe JCI will be able to achieve environmental justice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. So, environmental justice requires cooperation and community leaders, local government, legal professionals, businesses, civil society, and young people can each bring different perspective and resources. Thank you very much, Sean, for this wonderful answer. So, Sean, before we conclude, what is the first step a young leader can take to advance environmental justice within their community? And what measures would you leave with DCI members about empowering vulnerable communities for a resilient future?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed, for that beautiful question about the first step a young leader can take to advance environmental justice within the community and the message I leave with GCI members. First and foremost, I believe that before trying to lead or before trying to bring like projects or trying to help the community, we first need to understand the community itself. We need to listen to what the people are experiencing. We need also to understand and listen what they already know about the challenges they are facing. Then we also need to listen to what they understand or they identify as their priorities. What is the most itching challenge for them? It is not what we just merely see as people. You just come on the ground and what you see. Sometimes what we see with our own eyes is not necessarily the real problem people are facing. So we need to listen to them, we need to understand them, and we need to really take up their priorities. And then after understanding them, we need to use our skills, be able to use our networks, our capacity, and we engage them in planning processes, in decision-making processes, so that by the time we bring a project on the table, they already know what the project is about, how is it going to be implemented, what are the benefits for the projects, and how is it going to help the community? And with this, I believe they will be able to receive the project with one heart, and they will cooperate with the young leaders or GCI members. And because we need to change the way we think about vulnerable communities, we really need to respect the fact that, yes, they are vulnerable, but we really need to understand that the vulnerability is not the identity. It is something that has been produced by systems, and the systems that we need to change. Meaning that if these systems change, the vulnerability has also been able to, it has also been worked on. So we need to stop seeing them as simply as people waiting for to be saved. We need to start seeing them as people with the knowledge, with the agency, with a capacity to provide solutions for themselves. But they have just been placed in systems and in a way that they are not able to come out of the challenges. So for us, we are just offering a helping hand, but it is not that they are not able to help themselves. The systems have just placed them in that vulnerable state. So finally, the message I can give is that we should not just invite these people at the table for us to record that these people have been on the meetings, they have been present, we've received maybe like 100 or like 300 or 500 people, they have been able to attend the workshop. We need to really understand, yes, they have come in the meeting, but have we been able to listen to their information? Have we been able to listen to their voices? Have we been able to listen to their already what has been taking place and how they have been managing, so that we can just tap into what has been done, the community initiatives that are already in place? Are we able to connect with them and just help those initiatives to boost them up, to give them the capacity to proceed with all the solutions they have been implementing? So I believe environmental justice is asking us what the United Nations in the Sustainable Development Goal put across. It emphasized that we should leave no one behind, and we should aim at helping the furthest first. So at this moment, the environmental justice is asking us to take this promise seriously. We don't need to leave anyone behind. So that means the vulnerable communities, they need to have systems that are going to help them, and we don't leave them behind. And this particularly, we talk about emphasizing on the climate finance for these vulnerable communities, information, we need to talk about who actually benefits when the project is coming. It's not about a matter of knowing that a project has come in a country and we know that yes, the community has received projects. No, these projects must really reach to the people that really need them. The finances must reach to the people that really need them. Finance must translate into action where vulnerability exists. So this is the main message I'm giving to the GCI members and the young people. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Joan. Thank you for sharing your valuable knowledge. Thank you for joining us for this interview as part of the GCI System 360 48 Hours Ways to Sustainability. I'm Mohamed Bang from GCI Senegal. Until our next session, let us lead, connect, and evolve for a sustainable future. Thank you very much.